Welcome to Q News, Mr. Emamian. Now, the UK economy grew by 0.3% in the second quarter of 2025, showing slower growth than the 0.7% in the first quarter. What factors contributed most to the slowdown, and how might this affect economic confidence going forward?
Well, the first factor is higher taxation and also exodus of wealth makers. The system of taxation has changed dramatically over the last year, mostly targeting the higher earners and the super higher earners. Now, we must appreciate that these higher earners are the wealth makers, and a country needs its wealth makers. But the government has been so hard on these wealth makers, they have been living UK on a massive scale. So right now, this is one of the factors. And also there is, according to Office of National Statistics, there will be a black hole of 50 billion in government budget this year that has to be filled. And the only way the government is looking at it is higher taxation. They are considering higher taxation on inheritance tax and other factors. So there is that $15 billion of £15 billion of black hole.
So despite the overall economic growth, the UK exports of goods to the United States dropped to their lowest level in over 3 years in June 2025. What key challenges are UK exporters facing in the US market currently?
Well, if you look at it as the entire UK economy, after the Brexit, there was an opportunity for UK to become what US is now. US is now cheap energy. US is low regulation, business-friendly environment. These are all good factors for manufacturers. Now, after Brexit, UK could have been that. It could have been a location for low energy, low regulation, free business environment. So most of the manufacturers, they could have moved to UK. It would have been a haven for manufacturers on the corner of Europe. But instead, none of this has happened. And instead, we are in this position that we have a high taxation economy, we have high regulated economy, and the Bank of England is not helping either by keeping the interest rate very high at 4%. It should be at 2%.
Yes. So how have recent US tariff policies impacted UK exports across different sectors, such as automobiles, machinery, and steel? And what has been the response from the UK businesses?
At the moment, they are just reacting. They're not responding. They are just waiting to see what they can do, how much of these extra cost tariffs or other costs they can absorb. And ultimately, they may have to shift or relocate their manufacturing to US, because now US is offering much better environment than UK. If you relocate to US, you avoid the import tariffs, US import tariffs. At the same time, you have, again, cheaper energy, less regulation. So you could actually relocate your manufacturing to US, and then from US, re-export to UK. So it would be even cheaper and making more money. So these are what the major decisions are facing. Of course, large businesses and large medium-sized business can consider that, but it is really the small, medium to small businesses who will be suffering in this economy.
Now, economic data shows that while UK exports of goods to the US have decreased, exports of services to the US have increased by over 8% year on year. What role do services play in the UK-US trade relations, and how might this balance evolve?
Well, services mainly is research and development, and UK has been extremely good at research and development. A lot of innovations, a lot of great research happen in UK. But what UK suffers from, Britain suffers from, they cannot convert these innovations and these research into mass production. And that's where the money is. It's if you can convert your research and innovation into mass production, that's where the money will flow. That was has happened with China. China can convert innovations into mass production. US has that ability as well. They convert innovation into mass production. Now that needs a lot of expertise, commitments, and also a lot of changes in the way that the economy is run. But this government has no idea, no plan, and they're not even considering how to help large manufacturers and how to get mass production, again, or other terms, reindustrialization, introduced into UK economy.
Mm-hmm. Sir, how significant is the U.S. market to the UK economy overall, considering trade, foreign direct investment, and of course employment? And what risks does dependence on the U.S. market pose here?
Well, but the U.S. market, it's the market leader. At the same time, U.S. dollar is the world currency. So you cannot avoid U.S. You want to be involved with U.S. economy and also with U.S. companies and with the U.S. governments. But then doesn't mean that Bank of England cannot be independent and follow Federal Reserve constantly. Bank of England is not following the UK economy, it's following Federal Reserve, what they do. And I think that's where there is that rift between the Bank of England and UK economy. Otherwise, the interest rate would be much lower.
Well, from London, that was a political and economic analyst, Mr. Babak Emamian. Thank you so much for your valuable insight.